Patmos is a small Greek island in the Aegean Sea, about 13 miles in size. It's a rocky, volcanic island with a coastline shaped like a seahorse. The entire island is only about 7.5 miles long and 6 miles across at its widest point, with a current population of about 3,000 people. Patmos was settled by Greeks migrating from the mainland, probably sometime during the 8th century BC. The earliest known mention of the island is found in the writings of the 5th century Greek historian Thucydides, but just as a geographic reference point. According to ancient Greek mythology, the island of Patmos was originally underwater. That is, until Artemis persuaded Zeus to make it rise up out of the sea. You know, when you think about it, Patmos is a volcanic island, so I guess it's more or less true that it did rise up out of the sea. But the idea that Zeus made it happen is on pretty shaky ground. I mean, I wouldn't look too closely at that theory with a magnifying glass. I mean, come on, who doesn't love a good volcano joke? Patmos is actually comprised of 3 separate landmasses connected by 2 thin strips of land. These are called isthmuses. An isthmus is a narrow strip of land with sea on either side, forming a link between 2 larger areas of land. During the Roman period, Patmos was known as being part of the Sporades Islands, a group of remote islands used to exile or banish people who were thought to somehow be threats to the Roman Empire. Now, while some of these islands were only prison colonies, Patmos had a bit more going on, including this harbor you see behind me, a town, a gymnasium, and a temple to Artemis. The most famous exile to be banished here at Patmos was the Apostle John, a personal disciple of Jesus and the writer of one of the 4 Gospels. Now, late in the 1st century AD, John was living in Ephesus, preaching the gospel, teaching the scriptures, and helping lead the church there. Historians maintain that he wrote his gospel and his 3 epistles from Ephesus and was very outspoken against the pagan worship happening there. This didn't sit well with the Roman Emperor Domitian. Roman historians such as Pliny described Domitian as a violent madman who persecuted Christians. Domitian was also a frequent user of and believer in prophetic omens, and he was one of the few emperors who insisted on calling himself a god during his reign. In about 86 AD, a temple to Domitian was built in Ephesus. At about the same time, the people of Ephesus were forced to worship and make sacrifices to Domitian, practices that would have certainly been denounced by the Apostle John. John's opposition to emperor worship, along with his continued preaching of the gospel, eventually reached the ear of Emperor Domitian, prompting him to take action. In the 14th year of the reign of Domitian, that is 94 AD, the elderly John the Apostle was banished here to the island of Patmos.
You must do your own research, as I did.